pitch is swung on and hit in the air to center field and deep. Back goes Yastrzemski on the track, at the wall. She is gone. Unbelievable. Aaron Judge, in his first at-bat of the year, hits a home run to dead center. It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the Judge. The pitch is swung on. Torres hits a fly ball to deep right. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. It's Glaber Day. Glaber Torres just went to right field and hit a 2-run home run to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead. Like a good Glaber, Torres is there.
Now, back to the morning roast with Bonte and Shasky.
You gotta love it, man. You gotta embrace John Sterling, longtime voice of the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge picking up where he left off. 62 home runs last year, an American League record, 131 RBIs, batted .311, the MVP, the captain of the New York Yankees. Glaber Torres with the 2-run bomb, and the Yankees shut out the Giants 5-0. Giants limited to 4 hits as Garrett Cole was dominant. The Yankees looking to try to get back to the playoffs and possibly win their first World Series in over a decade. Let's bring in John Sterling to the morning roast here on 95.7 The Game. John, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Well, Bonte, good morning to you and to your audience, and a pleasure to be on.
Absolutely. Let me start with Aaron Judge there, because you called, for Giants fans like me and Shasky here, we thought we had a shot to see Aaron Judge wear the orange and black. What did you believe was going to happen this offseason with Aaron Judge? Where was your mind at? Did you think, like, okay, he's going to come back? Or were you a little concerned about Aaron Judge moving on from the pinstripes?
Well, I certainly was concerned, but I felt that it had to do with the Yankees. A Judge had a year last year that almost no one else ever had. I mean, he led in everything. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. A long time in Yankeedom, and so I didn't feel they could absolutely afford to let him go.
Right.
So no matter what the highest price was, I figured the Yankees would top him. And as you know, the Yankees have a little bit, as they say, set aside. So that's a pretty well-to-do franchise. So I figured they'd get him.
John, that's just, I love hearing your voice. Like, this is really special. Me and B, we love hearing your calls, and it's just, this is awesome. That being said, we know that he courted with the Giants, the whole wink into the camera at the hotel, and then he goes back to the Yankees, and then, like baseball, the poetry that it is, he faces the Giants, and on the first at-bat of the first swing for his new season after breaking Roger Maris's record for the Yankees last year, it's a home run. That felt like it was out of a Disney script.
Well, I thought it was just as unbelievable as you did. You know, baseball is a game of failure, and New York fans, they don't take failure very well. A middle ground. You know, I always say with a New York team, I don't care which one it is, hockey, basketball, football, baseball, I don't care which one it is. When they lose, they're the worst team in the history of that sport. When they win a game, championship. So there's not a lot of middle ground. So that was spectacular when a Judge hit his Judgian blast to dead center field in the first inning.
Yeah, no doubt. John Sterling here in the morning roast on 95.7 The Game. So, John, obviously you're on the East Coast. You're in the Big Apple. You're paying attention to the New York Yankees. Us as Giants fans are a little disappointed. You know, you guys bring up your young hot shot shortstop. He's batting ninth. The Giants have this kid named Casey Schmidt, and he's down to AAA. We're saying, why not introduce him to the world at Yankee Stadium with the monuments in center field in the Bronx, international game, the first game of the season? Do you understand why Giants fans could be ticked off at the lineup that they trotted out yesterday?
That was not a great lineup. And in the American League, you know, the Yankees are in a division with really good teams, mm-hmm. Toronto and Tampa and Baltimore and Boston. Mm-hmm. And their lineups are a little stronger. I'd say the Giant lineup a little young, and they need Conforto and they need Hageder to come back, who's always injured. And they need those two guys to really hit for them.
Yeah. What John? I'm looking at the way the game's changed so much with the rules, and I'm loving the pace of play. But the big takeaway, watching that Volpe kid. I mean, first off, 21 years old. Playing shortstop for the Yankees. I mean, that's surreal in itself. When he made that play up the middle, going to his left diving, I said, this guy, he's a player. I mean, just seeing this kid play. Speak about them having the confidence to play a 21-year-old on a team that's trying to win a championship.
With about 200 of his people in the crowd. No, it's a wonderful story, and I want to tell you that Susan and I were on that. The minute we started doing games, we were all on Volpe's bandwagon. He's got to make the team, and finally, after all their nonsense, ball clubs never say anything. They say nonsense, but they know what's going on. They won't say it. But anyway, it was apparent to everyone this kid has won the shortstop's job, and you got to give him a run. Now, batting ninth is another thing. He's batting ninth because they think he will get on base. And that will allow he and LeMahieu to set the table for Judge, Rizzo, Stanton. So his batting ninth is like an extra leadoff man. So, I'm not one of those who wants my star, Judge, to hit second. I want two great table setters in front of him.
Yeah.
That's the way they play the game now. But with Volpe batting ninth, that's the reason for it.
No doubt. John Sterling here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game, longtime voice of the New York Yankees. Now, your workload, you're going to reduce your workload this season, huh? You're not going to go on many road trips this year, John?
No. No. I wish that was true. No, I'm going to take off. I have a great boss, Chris Olivero, and Howie Rose and the Mets work with the same company. They're on WCBS or on WFAN. And Howie's going to take off about 30 games or so, and I will too. You heard and saw Dwayne Stats say that I'm 70 years old and I love the game as much. It's just I hate traveling. So Dwayne's going to take off about 30 games. The lucky guys, Denny Matthews in Kansas City and Bob Uecker in Milwaukee, are not doing any road games. That's the ultimate. But anyway, I'm going to do about 132 games this year. So I'm doing enough games.
Yeah, that's a lot of games. Now, we wonder here, because we always play your calls, and we get a chuckle out of them. How you come up with them, the text message back in the day with Mark Teixeira.
A text bomb.
An A-bomb for A-Rod. I mean, all this stuff. Where do you practice this stuff? Do you come up with this stuff on the fly? How do you come up with these great calls?
Well, at the beginning, it was absolutely on the fly. It was not meant to be a home run call for every player. It's like a cottage industry. It's grown. But when I said "Burn, Baby, Burn" or an A-bomb for A-Rod or Robbie Cano, why don't you know? That was all thought up at the scene. And now I have to work a little bit more. I had to work to get one for Giancarlo, and I have worked to get one for Anthony Volpe. I have one in Italian and one in English. And so whenever he does.
John, I just love broadcasting in general. The voices like yourself. When I hear your voice right now, I'm smiling, number one. And number two, I just think of Yankee baseball. And like when I think of John Miller or Kruko and Kipe and guys like that, I think of Giants baseball, Vin Scully with the Dodgers. Who are the guys that you grew up listening to, and who are the guys that maybe you emulated?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I grew up and I loved all the music, stayed with me to this day. All the movies. I lived near 5 movie theaters in New York. And radio and television, I was going to be a disc jockey. I wanted to be a disc jockey at WNEW AM, which were, then those days, the darlings of Madison Avenue. I thought that'd be the end of the world, going to WNEW. I never even fantasized or dreamt about the Yankees, even when I'm in the business, because I felt it could never happen. Now, that's a lucky story, which I'd be glad to tell you sometime. But I listen to everyone all the time, everyone. Mel Allen, of course. Russ Hodges with the Giants was great. Mm-hmm. And then this young Vin Scully from Brooklyn. And I knew, this sounds terribly egotistical, but I knew Vin Scully was going to be great, I think, before almost anyone. I thought he was terrific when he began. I love Bob Prince and the Pirates and Harry Carey, and I like all of them, and they're all different. This is what Harry Carey told me once. He said, John, they're all good, but we all have different styles. And so, I obviously like the ones whose style I like.
Yeah.
And when I was auditioning, little boy disc jockey, I would make a lot of my trips on Friday evening, where they then were a lot of triple twiniders, and I looked at see which station I could get. Oh yeah, I can get this one. I can get that. And so I would drive, and I drive to baseball. So I'm very much a baseball person.
No, I love this. I love these stories because my dad talks about it. He actually called in yesterday and he says he remembers when he was a little boy listening onto the radio because the games weren't televised, and his favorite player, Willie Mays, was playing in the game, and Lon Simmons and Russ Hodges were doing the call. I remember, listening to Ted Robinson with Barry Bonds and stuff over the years. We were lucky enough to have the television. So who was the seminal Yankee that got you into the game? Like, who was the guy, when you go back to your childhood, that made you love baseball?
No, when I started to love baseball, I just simply loved baseball. I loved the whole thing. I loved the names. This is the late 40s. I love the names. I love the fact that the New York had 3 teams. Mm-hmm. I listened to everyone. He was a Yankee fan now, but I listened to everyone's games, and I went to the Polo Grounds a lot. That was easy for me. I only went to Ebbets Field a couple of times. I didn't know where the heck it was. But anyway, I liked all of it, and it isn't one announcer. What you do on the air, you gather all these guys. Don't forget, a lot of mine were disc jockeys, mm-hmm. and you broadcast kind of the way they do. And then you get in the business, you get on the air, and you start to find your sound. And let me tell you something. No one broadcasts the way I do. So I know I have a different way. I didn't say it was good. I said it's different.
No, we enjoy it out here on the West Coast. We're talking to John Sterling, of course, the voice of the New York Yankees on WFAN. I want to get back to the Giants for a second and get your impressions on Logan Webb, who we think can be a top of the rotation starter. He pitched well enough to win, I thought, yesterday, even though he gave up the 2 home runs. What was your impressions of Logan Webb yesterday in the Giants uniform?
I thought he was terrific. My God, he struck out half the team all the time. He's a very smooth, strong right-hander who's in the strike zone, and he changes his speeds beautifully on his fastball and cutter and sinker and breaking ball. Now, I was very impressed. But we know the Giants have good pitching.
Right.
And now the question, how much will he hit? Because they're in a division, like the Yankees, they're in a division with San Diego and the Dodgers and an improving Arizona team. So, they're going to have to hit a little bit to win.
The Steinbrenner family, when you bring them up, man, people in baseball get triggered. What's the big thing about the Steinbrenner family in general that people get wrong?
Well, that's George. It certainly isn't Hal, who's a very quiet, easygoing, calm presence. George was something else. But in my case, George loved me. So, and Susan too. So we thought George was the greatest. Now I know that he was a little mercurial, or a lot mercurial. But with me, I could tell you the stories. He was absolutely great to me.
You didn't walk on the eggshells around George? He didn't ever want to fire you like he fired everybody else?
No. Well, I'll give you a story, quick story. Got to do this quick for you. 5th game of the Seattle playoff series in '95. Great series. A great series.
You remember it. Yeah.
Anyway, the Yankees lost. And after I finished my post game, I came downstairs, and the only way to get to the bus, which was behind the center field boards, was you have to go through the dugout. And you go through the dugout, and standing on the field, kind of in front of the dugout, was George. And he was the steam. The proverbial steam was coming from his ears. So I walked out, and I have to walk past him, and he said to me, "Don't worry. There'll be changes. not you and Michael. You guys are great. so that's George in that moment telling me how good I was. So that's a relationship I had with George.
We watched that captain doc, and we saw how steamed he was after that Seattle game. And boy, was there changes after that one. Changes pretty good because you guys won 4 championships in the next 5 years.
Right.
All right. Go ahead,
John,
Chesky.
if you could do like the captain was a great doc, right? We all watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. Knowing the Yankee history the way you do, who's the guy? Is it Billy Martin? Is it the Dave Winfield saga? Is it Babe Ruth, the Yankee Clipper Joe DiMaggio? Who's the guy that you think needs the 30 for 30 breakdown documentary for the New York Yankees? Which player is it?
Without question, Babe Ruth. He totally changed the game. And 2 different years in the 20s, he literally out-homered every team in the league.
Incredible.
So if you're larger in life and you produce, one thing to be larger in life, but you got to produce in New York. And Babe Ruth totally changed the game. And he was fortunate to have a Robin with him in Lou Gehrig. One year, when Ruth out-homered every team in the league, Gehrig out-homered every team but one, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it was like? Imagine what it'd be like now if you had 2 guys on your team who out-homered every team in the American League.
Gehrig is special.
So, anyway, Shohei Ohtani is a fabulous player and is doing just great things. But he doesn't come close to what Ruth did as a pitcher or as a hitter. Ruth was really unusual.
Well, there's a lot of people who think Shohei's already catapulted Babe Ruth and already surpassed him as a 2-way player, John. So I'm glad you're holding on to that Yankee shield representing for the Bronx Bombers.
We have a day off today.
Well, I know that. I know you have a day off. What about Shohei in the offseason?
Yeah.
Shohei, are the Yankees going to be after this guy? I think he's going to make $500 to $600 million on his next contract.
I don't think he'll come east. And if he wants to stay in L.A., he's got 2 pretty big franchises bidding for him. So I figure he'd stay out there.
All right.
But you never know. And by the way, forget about the Yankees. How about the Mets?
Oh.
They got a guy who's willing to spend some money too.
What do you think of him? He's got a lot of George Steinbrenner in him. What's your thoughts on Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, trying to fight for spots on the back of that daily sports page?
Well, that is a battle. It's a good battle because it helps both teams. But I think Steve Cohen is a godsend for the Mets and for baseball. And you always want a franchise like that. The other one wants to get. It's always been the Yankees. So. No, we're seeing things that happen. One thing, before I get off, these unbelievable salaries. You know what it tells you?
Huh.
They're making money. Yeah. They wouldn't be giving money away.
John, you are a legend.
Hey, by the way, Yankees, Astros, you guys got to get over those guys, man. It feels like that's been the curse for you guys, the Astros.
Yeah. It's not a curse. They're a better team. They got it. Yankees have to get better than the Astros, and maybe this year they will.
All right, John. A lot of fun with you, man. Thanks
so
for the time today. We know you're busy. Enjoy your off day. Giants, Yankees tomorrow for game 2 of this 3-game set. Giants got to score a run for crying out loud out there at Yankee Stadium. John, thanks so much for the time. Have a good season.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Anytime. John Shirley, longtime voice of the New York Yankees. He is hilarious.
Bonte.